Lucy, a young singer and actress, had multiple relationships with multiple people of different genders. So did most of her friends. She did this because, in her words, she had so much love to give. When her mother suddenly died of cancer, Lucy realized that she was lonely. Her relationships were more superficial than authentic, and Lucy felt empty. When a Christian coworker named Maria started to befriend her, Lucy was wary, but Maria seemed to show real concern. Lucy appreciated to have someone to talk to who listened and demanded nothing in return. Even after Maria mentioned she was a follower of Jesus, Lucy still wanted to continue a friendship with her. Eventually, Lucy accepted an invitation to join some of Maria's friends for dinner and a Bible study. The warm acceptance she received opened her up to learn more about Jesus. Over time, as she grew closer to this community, studied the Bible, and experienced the love of God in a profound and healing way, Lucy gave her life to Jesus. Soon after, she joined a church and was baptized in a river with Maria by her side. Now, in order to bring the hope of Jesus to a secular culture, we need to follow the example of Jesus and become a friend of sinners. The great truth of our culture is that everyone is looking for deep relational connection and belonging. Humans are relational beings. It's hardwired into us. This reality is a reflection of the way God designed us. In fact, the very nature of God himself is a relationship. For all eternity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit have been in community together. Sadly, loneliness is at epidemic levels today. This is the result of many things, including the rejection of traditional sexual ethics, the delay in marriage and having kids, combined with technology that encourages filtered reality and digital escapism. All of this has been amplified by a secular worldview that says the key to happiness is found within. Just follow your dreams and don't let anyone tell you who you are or what you want. Take care of yourself above all else. Now, all of this is a recipe for intense loneliness, and it's killing us, literally in many cases. Everyone wants to be known and loved. Now, people may put up barriers or come across as disinterested, but you can bank on the fact that when you're talking with people, they are searching and desperate for love and acceptance. Yet our culture is leaving people empty and lonely, and it's tragic, but it's also a huge opportunity because the gospel offers what they are longing for and more. You see, there is amazing power in good old-fashioned friendship. And the beauty of it is you don't have to be an expert in apologetics or especially talented and persuasive or charismatic. You just need to be a good friend. And when we befriend people who are not like us and would not walk into a church, we are offering them a connection all of us long for. Unfortunately, while the great truth of culture is that everyone is looking for belonging and connection, the great lie is that to be a good friend or to love someone, you have to support their lifestyle and worldview. In fact, according to secular doctrine, tolerance is not enough. We must affirm. But the truth is that love does not equal affirmation. I can love someone and not affirm the sin in their life. I mean, think about it. As a parent, I love my children, but that doesn't mean that I let them do whatever they want. I mean, if I let my 4-year-old do whatever he wants, he would eat candy all day and probably run into the street and get hit by a car. But it's precisely because I love someone that I do not affirm, because sin leads to death. And I am not truly loving someone if I affirm sin in their life. Now, Jesus beautifully demonstrated this truth. He showed us that association and relationship with sinners is not synonymous with affirming their lifestyle. He freely associated with people who had been marginalized from society because of their immoral lifestyles. In fact, Jesus spent so much time with sinners that he offended the religious people of his day. Yet, as he engaged people, he didn't hesitate to challenge them and tell them to go and sin no more. For example, in John 4, you'll notice that Jesus demonstrated remarkable love for a Samaritan woman at the well. Now, culturally, a Jewish rabbi should not have associated with the Samaritan woman, especially one who had been married 5 times and was now living with a man who was not her husband. Yet, Jesus approached this woman with great gentleness and warmth, but he never affirmed her lifestyle in doing so. He never told her, just be you or do whatever makes you happy. Jesus was able to approach people of any background with great mercy and grace while also challenging their beliefs and behaviors. And that's our model for engaging culture. It requires us to be both relevant and holy. Now, relevance is about being understood. It means being present with people in order to really know them. It's about learning how people see the world so that we can effectively communicate the gospel. Holiness, on the other hand, is about being set apart, about being different and distinct. Now, it's easy to err on either side of the tension between relevance and holiness. We can become so relevant that in our desire to connect, we compromise and we start to look exactly like the world and adopt its perspectives, lifestyles, and morals in order to fit in. But we can also become so holy that we isolate ourselves from the world and we become completely disconnected with different social Christian groups and entertainment and business and everything. And that extreme takes us out of a position to influence the world around us. Now, this is a false tension, of course, because holiness does not imply disassociation, and we can influence the world without compromising with it. Or as it is often said, we can be in the world, but not of it. In order to transform our culture, we have to be both present in it and distinct from it. That's our calling on both counts. So how do we do this? How do we become friends of sinners? Well, it goes back to adopting a missionary mindset. In the first session, we said that in order to reach our increasingly secularized culture, we need to become cross-cultural missionaries to our own people in our own cities. Now, being a missionary is not a purely organic process. It doesn't just happen. Missionaries just don't happen to show up in the country they serve. It's planned. It requires an intentional lifestyle. And the first step is we've got to count the cost. Because you see, we are so busy and overscheduled that we often do not have room in our lives for building friendships with non-religious people. You see, a missionary lifestyle may require a radical change in our priorities. So ask yourself, what do you need to cut out? Even good things to make room for relationships with non-religious people in your life. Then we start by actively pursuing people that are around us in our sphere of influence, in our oikos. You see, oikos is this biblical word, a Greek word used in the New Testament that means household or sphere of influence. And this includes people in your family, but also your neighbors, classmates, co-workers, and other acquaintances. So you ask yourself and ask God, who are the 2 or 3 people in my sphere of influence that are far from God that I can begin to intentionally pursue for a deeper relationship? Now, I want to do a quick side note here. If you are a parent or a grandparent and your adult son or daughter has walked away from the Lord, or maybe you're in a young adult yourself and your brother or sister is deconstructed to their faith, the best thing you can do is to be a consistent, loving presence in their life. Pursue them. Meet them on their turf. Let them know that even though you don't agree with their choices or lifestyle, you love them and nothing will ever change that. Then pray and never give up. Their story is not over yet. Pray that God will bring other people or circumstances into their life that will open their heart to Jesus. And be patient, but always ready to respond when the Holy Spirit presents an opportunity to have a spiritual conversation and reintroduce them to Jesus. So we start with those that are close to us, but as missionaries to our culture, we can expand our sphere of influence by being relationally present in secular places in order to intentionally build relationships with people who would not walk into a church. And there are all kinds of ways that you can do this. This can include hobbies, like sports, arts, games, kids' activities, book clubs, things like that. It can be causes, which can include local politics, social causes, neighborhood groups, all kinds of different ways to connect at a level of purpose and cause. Or it can be places and events. Think places where people hang out, like bars, gyms, festivals, concerts, parks, lakes, different places where people naturally gather, where you can be present to connect. For example, as a dad with 4 kids, I have many opportunities to engage with other parents at our kids' sports games. I mean, we spend hours on sidelines, and it has given me great opportunities to befriend people who would not normally walk into a church. Or for example, a friend of mine is a big long distance runner and is a member of a running club in his city, which draws all kinds of people. And he spends hours hanging out with these people and talking with them on long runs. Or another example is a youth pastor I know who spends every Sunday afternoon hanging out at a local game cafe that attracts all kinds of nerdy teenagers and young adults, many of whom identify as LGBTQ. And he builds deep relationships with people that open up the opportunity for him to introduce Jesus. So there are so many different examples of what this can look like. The question you should be taking to the Lord is, where is that one place, a hobby, a cause, or a specific place where people hang out, where you can be relationally present in order to intentionally build new relationships with non-religious people? Now, quick note, depending on the particular place, it's probably a good idea not to do it alone for the sake of accountability and safety. In fact, it's better and frankly more fun to engage in a particular scene together with another believer. Now, as you seek opportunities to build friendships in these places, ask the Holy Spirit to lead you to the right people and to give you supernatural favor. Specifically, ask the Holy Spirit to lead you to a person of peace. Now, a person of peace is a biblical concept, and it refers to someone with whom God gives you supernatural favor and they welcome you into their network of friends. A person of peace is able to draw you into their world and becomes a catalyst for others to be introduced to the gospel, even if they themselves have not yet accepted Jesus. Now, this doesn't just happen, which is why it needs to be led by the Holy Spirit. So ask God to lead you to people of peace, and doors will open for building deeper relationships. Now, as you develop friendships in secular places, it's important to keep a few principles in mind. Number 1, be clear that you're a follower of Jesus. This is not a bait and switch situation of hiding your identity as a Christian and then, boom, surprising them with it once you're in. But also, don't be obnoxious or come across as a Jesus robot who's totally oblivious to social cues. If you're truly friends with people, they should know you're a Christian, since that's the core to who you are. But that should come up naturally. It should flow out of the conversation. Number 2, don't be surprised that non-Christians act and think in unbiblical ways. That's who they are. And often many Christians are really easily shocked by a secular person's immoral lifestyle, or easily offended when someone acts a little rough or crude or makes a political comment that they don't agree with. And there's no need to freak out. That fits their worldview. So we shouldn't expect anything else. We can still appreciate who people are, even if they have a few rough edges. To give you an example, I actually grew up in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and my brother and I had this childhood friend that we grew up with. I went back a few years later when I was a young adult, and I decided I'm going to look up this friend. I want to see what he's up to. And so I went to his house, and he happened to be having a party, and there's all these people there having fun, and he invited me up. He said, yeah, come on, get up here. And there's this big group of people, and they're all hanging out. And the thing is, many of them were smoking joints. And they invited me to sit down and hang out with them. Now, the holiness side of me said, I don't know if I should be around this. I don't know if this is a good idea. But then I thought, you know what? It's okay. I can sit down and hang out with them. I don't have to participate in what they're doing. So there I was, hanging out with my friend and all his friends, and they were smoking joints, and they would hand it to me, and I would just hand it on to the next person. And what I found is that I could be with them and connect with them, but it didn't mean I had to participate in what they were doing. And I didn't have to be shocked that non-Christians act like non-Christians, because that's who they are. The third principle is, don't flaunt your moral superiority when you're around non-Christians. Instead, let them see your supernatural hope, love, joy, and peace. What makes Christianity unique is that God does for us and through us what we could not do for ourselves. So in your interactions with secular people, don't focus on your moral lifestyle, like the fact that you don't swear or get drunk. Instead, let people see the supernatural fruit of the Holy Spirit in your life. This is what is attractive to the world. You see, if you got a cancer diagnosis, but still have joy and peace, or if you have hope when everything around you is falling apart, or if you love the unlovable or forgive someone who hurts you, people notice. These are not natural responses. They are supernatural. This is evidence of the work of the Holy Spirit in your life. That, not our morality, is what is attractive to the world. It points to something transcendent when they see the fruit of the Holy Spirit at work in us, especially in the midst of adversity. They wonder how it's possible. As it says in 1 Peter 3:15, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason that you don't drink. No, it's for the hope that you have. It's because it's the supernatural hope that we have that causes the world to ask why. Finally, the last principle is affirm the good you see in people. As you interact with secular people, find genuine ways to affirm the good that you see in them. They are created by God. They are unique. Look for ways to affirm that. Are they intelligent? Tell them. Do they have a special talent or skill? Compliment them on it. Do they have a kind, friendly personality? Tell them how much you appreciate it. By affirming these things, you are calling out the ways that God has made them. Many people are starved for encouragement. When you generously speak life into them with your words, it's like water to a desert. So in order to bring the gospel to our secular culture, the first step is to follow the example of Jesus and become a friend of sinners. Because there is amazing power in good old-fashioned friendship. You don't have to be an expert in apologetics. You don't have to be super persuasive. You just need to be a good friend.